You know, when it comes to 90 Day Fiance, one thing that we can never deny is that things are always very, very interesting. Now, usually most of the interesting stuff isn't actually even on the show. Some of the interesting stuff is actually off the show. The things that happen on social media and how juicy they are. And here we are right now. Now we're going to begin this video talking about Shekinah. Now some of you may or may not remember, but I have made a video in the past. If you haven't seen it, please do check it out. Regarding the fact that Shekinah talked about how all the women were pretty much against her. And she blamed production being the reason why there was a division between herself and the rest of the other women on the show. Now in the most recent episode of The Last Resort, episode 2, I believe it was, we saw that when it came to them all having their first group therapy session, okay, couples group therapy session, all the women decided to go out and have a drink and have a social and socialize. All the men also decided to go out, have a drink and socialize. But Shekinah did not attend, did not go with the women or nor with the men. Why? Simply because she said that she was tired and she wanted to stay in the hotel or the place that she was staying at and have an early night, which is completely fine. But that was an example of it being displayed in our eyes that this was Shekinah choosing on her own actions to not be a part of the rest of the group. Okay, something that we clearly saw. So therefore that proves that production had nothing to do, at least with that scenario, when it comes to what? When it comes to Shekinah not being involved with the other ladies. So here's the thing. This is where things are now starting to come back. So in this post here that was made by 90 Day Fiance _ Alexa Pomegranate, so many syllables, so many words. God damn, make your name shorter, please. But anyway, as you can see, after she kind of made the comment about that production created a divide between the cast members, some of the cast members stepped up to correct her. Now in this first one here that is clearly got the arrow pointing towards it, as you can see, boom bam, it does say here from Shekinah herself in particular. As she responds to this post about the women talks about positions in bed, especially how to be a dead cow. Shekinah commented on this clip from 90 Day Fiance's IG saying, "I love how I had no clue this gathering was going on. Production creating division from day one." Well, this is the thing. You see, when this clip happened, when the women all started talking about the reference regarding the dead cow. Now, in case you've forgotten about this dead cow situation. Now, in the first episode of The Last Resort, when it came to Paula and Russ's, one of my hairs, yikes. When it came to their relationship, Paula referenced their intimacy life being like a dead cow. Pretty much stating that when they have intimacy, she just lays there and he does what he's got to do and that's it. Basically, it's a quickie in a nutshell. So, of course, in this conversation, Cara decided to ask Paula, so please let me know, what is actually a dead cow? Let us know, like, how does it work for you? And then obviously they find out that a dead cow is pretty much other people's versions of just starfishing, basically. Do you see what I'm saying? Meanwhile, Jenny was like, you know what? These ladies don't understand. When you get older, you're going to appreciate being a dead cow. It was one hell of a funny scene, to be fair. But why was Shekinah not there for the conversation? She was not there because she chose to stay in the place that they were staying and have an early night, not because production told her to. Okay, the only time this would make sense would be if it was Rebecca who said this, purely because Uzziah decided to go out for drinks with the boys and whatnot, and Rebecca did not let him know that everybody was gathering together. She actually decided to go downstairs on her own accord, and all of a sudden everyone's here. What's going on? So to be fair, when Rebecca was annoyed with Uzziah for not telling her, that made all the sense. You know what I mean? But still, even that alone wouldn't mean production was the issue. Now, let's continue. As you can see, obviously, these are posts that were made prior by Cara, by Thais, as well as also Paula. As you can see, she took every opportunity to not show up or leave filming. Period. Blaming production is absolutely wild. She avoids accountability like the plague and finds refuge in delusion. That's what Cara said. Paula says, delusional, blaming on production. 10 people can't be wrong about this mythology. I can't even say that word, myth. Just myth, let's just say myth. And then also Thais came out and also said production never caused any division whatsoever. She was the person who would walk out of every therapy session. She didn't want to participate in anything and would isolate herself from the group while everyone else was trying to build a relationship with her. Now, the thing that's quite interesting is that this is not the first time Shekinah has been accused of leaving and isolating herself. In fact, Shekinah isn't even the only customer that actually go through this accusation as well. prior to this, Lauren and Alex have also been accused of this same behavior as well, especially when it came to them being on Happy Ever After with Thais and Patrick and Angela and Michael and the rest of those gangs. They decided to leave the table early, and that's when Thais pretty much confronted Lauren and said, why do you guys act as if you're better than all of us? Why are you guys leaving early? You guys may remember that scene. So really and truly, I'm just saying that she's definitely not the only one who's done this. But this is not the first time Shekinah has been called out for choosing to isolate herself and separate herself from the cast members. And I think most of the time it's usually the women. But Danielle decided to come in. Danielle Yates decided to come into the comment section. She also added in her own little 2 cents. And she says she did this before, walked out of the tailwell with a dress she didn't own, because to be fair, we have been told that they are told what to wear, or at least they are given one to wear, give or take, which is very, very odd, because one of the most oddest things about them always having to be given what they want or being told what they want is that when we've seen them do the tailwell for Happily Ever After, we know that tailwell for Happily Ever After is a tailwell for no limits. This is when the cast members come together and they live together for a couple of days while they also film the tailwell, and we know that they have to go back to the place that they're staying, then go back to stage, then go back to the place staying, and then go to stage. But every time they have to go back to stage of the tailwell, they have to wear the same thing. They're not allowed to wear something different for the following day, which we've always found very, very interesting. Obviously, I can sit here and say that it is absolutely grotesque, but of course, if the clothes are being cleaned, then I guess it is what it is. But it's just very strange, isn't it? All that money that they have for TLC specifically, and they don't want to give these guys a new outfits per each day they go and do the tailwell. That's crazy business. Either way, she continues by saying, and the other tailwell, she refused to continue filming until I left. This is what she does. Now, I do recall Danielle saying this in the past when this actually happened between her and Shekinah. So again, Shekinah right now, just like Paula said, there's 10 people who are literally saying a complete different story to you. So who's telling the truth? It's a no-brainer. But as you know, there is also a cast member called Amini, however she wants to pronounce her name. Is so confusing. I pronounce her name basically how it's spelled, Amani, but hey, either way, you know how she likes to always get herself involved, and famously, her and Shekinah definitely had a situation the last time they were both on the network together. In fact, their situation got so intense that Amani decided to create a whole diss track towards Shekinah, and she titled her, I believe it was Shekinah rather than Shekinah. I could be wrong, but either way though, that diss track was definitely, not listened to. But she's come in to also have her own say in addition to the post that was made, obviously, from 90 Day Fiance Alexa Promogami. As you can see, it says here, LOL, life turns full circle. So when I try to warn Shekinah, as you can see, ahead of our tailwell, that production may want us to stay at the port, just presumption from the question they asked me about her, she told me I was fake and threw me under the bus. But now she's blaming it on production. Karma is real. You guys told me that I was the mean girl bullying her while I was reacting to her being the biggest bully. And I do remember this specifically, obviously when this all came out. And obviously now we're seeing that clearly Amani was obviously on the right end of that story while Shekinah was not. I mean, to be honest with you, I remember when it happened anyway, and I've never really cared necessarily to agree with Shekinah with many things. The only time I can really agree but per se is when it comes to a relationship with Sarpa, because really and truly when it comes to her and Sarpa, they're both as bad as each other. That's the only time. But for the most part, I remember that season, and to be fair, I do remember pretty much thinking what Amani was saying definitely tracked more than what Shekinah said, especially given the fact that DMs were then dropped as well, or should I say leaked by, I believe, Amani at the time. And I think Shekinah did too, but she kind of made sure hers were in her favor. But either way though, like I said folks, when it comes to 90 Day Fiance, things are always interesting, and most of the time it is even more interesting when it is literally things that are happening off the show and it's happening on social media. And boy do we love it, and this is why you guys enjoy coming here all the time. But we're now going to move on to another topic. Now this one here is a conversation that is happening on Reddit right now regarding the new couple, Josh and Catie. Yeah. So let's dive into it. As you can see, this post here says, as a parent, please raise your kid knowing their worth. These guys' tolerance is something deeper than patience. Read body. At first, when I saw it said read body, I thought it meant like body language, but then I realized it just meant the description. But anyway, this man comes in and says, as a male, Especially when you grow up friendly and confident. It generally sucks watching another good guys get done the way they don't deserve and not realize it. I ain't gonna lie to you now. I'm gonna stop you right there, buddy. There's a fine line when it comes to somebody not deserving it. Because you see, when people put themselves in positions that they know is not good for them, they know they can walk away from, they know that are not healthy for them, people have a choice to walk away. Now, of course, if you are somebody who is a young person, if you're a teenager, I can understand not seeing the sayings and still sticking around for set purposes. If you are maybe somebody who is, let's say, 18, 19, 20, I can also understand because you're still growing, you're still developing, and you're still maybe even getting your first job, or you're still in education, who knows, or you may be even in a worse situation. Okay, you might be in a situation where you and your parents just don't get along. Either way though, you're still growing, you're still learning. Okay, and listen, maybe if you're also in the age between 21 to 25, maybe I'll allow if people still want to, choose to be in situations that are not good for them and they don't know how to get away from them because they're still growing, they're still maturing, then I can get it. But once you're definitely, I would say, and I know I said 21, 25, but if you're somebody who's now, 27, 28, 29, 20, 30, and you're allowing yourself to be in a relationship where a woman is literally taking advantage of you and you are allowing it every step of the way, but each time you talk, you try and talk as if you're actually intellectually intelligent when clearly you're not. Just because you have a posh accent, it doesn't mean that you're intelligent. And that's something that we're seeing from this Josh dude. So for me personally, I don't feel sorry for Josh in any type of way because he's a grown-ass man that should know better. But let's continue though, folks. How can one not stop and say, wait, I'm proud of my girlfriend for going one night not hooking up with someone? You know what I mean? Imagine saying that. That is absolutely diabolical. Hell, imagine a woman saying, I'm so happy that my man went one night without hooking up with somebody. I wonder how that conversation would go. The calamity. Also, let's continue. It says here, the lack of self-esteem has a man can't fathom nor understand, but I can only imagine it comes from years of thinking they deserve nothing or little. So here's the thing that I'm going to stop right here. I'm still going to stick to what I said regarding ages and understanding, obviously, when our mind is at a point where it's mature enough to understand when something is not good for me. And I'll tell you this now, folks, even if you have low self-esteem, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're always going to be somebody that is necessarily a doormat. Sometimes people with low self-esteem can also walk in situations that they know are actually making them feel worse rather than making them feel better. I would imagine that a lot of the time when people have low self-esteem actually want to be around somebody that can help them elevate that self-esteem rather than someone that can actually ruin that self-esteem. But of course, unfortunately in this world, there are people in this world who do target people with low self-esteem so they can control that low self-esteem and make it even worse, and therefore that becomes domestic mental abuse, should we say, not domestic, but mental abuse. So I get it. It happens, but that's not the case in this situation. But I will say this though, in the very first episode of this couple, Catie said that when she met Josh in England, she was in a bar, she kissed this guy and this guy and this guy, and when she went to kiss Josh, Josh said no. He said no initially because he didn't want to kiss it because he saw her kiss other people. It wasn't until another time when it was just them two and nobody was around, that's when he decided to kiss her and all of a sudden decided to pursue a relationship with her. So the point here is that he obviously showed that he has strength and the ability to say no, but he did it at the very beginning. How can you go from having a form of a backbone to now having a form of a complete delusional? Make it make sense. So let's not forget the details here. We're not dealing with somebody who's just got low self-esteem per se or whatever. We're dealing with somebody that she told us flat out that he knew how to say no at the very beginning. But for some reason, he's desperate, decided to change his goddamn mind. Maybe he just really wanted to come to America. I don't know. But either way, though, let's continue. So anything is a win. 90 Day Fiance is not scripted. We see pictures or videos of these people years before the show, and I generally feel like this specific situation can be a teaching point. Hell, listen, every situation that we watch in 90 Day Fiance, whether it is scripted or not, is always a teaching point. But the things that we see are things that do generally happen in people's lives. Let's call it what it is. Yes, of course, and this is why it's reality TV, even though it's not necessarily reality to you, but it is still relatable, if you know what I'm saying. But either way, though, I do feel what this person's saying, okay? And I don't necessarily disagree completely with what this person's saying. I'm just saying that, let's not forget, though, when it comes to Josh, he's a man of a certain age. He's a man that speaks as if he's intelligent as anything else. And also, on top of that, there's history of him saying no to it at some point. The reason why he has changed that is the unknown, the absolute unknown. But Someone else came in here and said, nailed it. I used to be so insecure that I would think girls that found me attractive were picking on me. Oh, that's crazy. I found myself in the trash looking for soulmates because that's who I was. Not until my wife did I realize I was moderately attracted to women and my insecurities were from my mother. Listen, all of our insecurities always come from our childhood, whether it be our mother, our father, our cousins, our sisters, you name it, it definitely comes from 100%. And obviously, as you can see, a lot of men gathering together. Same here, bro. It took me until my 30s to realize that some of these women actually liked me. Still don't believe it sometimes. This is a good thing. But Josh needs to recognize that even though Catie may like him, she's not for him. Two different things. And as you can see, I'm glad you both woke up. I really hope both parents see this and realize how much they can aid to their child's success by feeding them confidence every step of the way. Famously, when Adam Sandler won an award, some sort of lifetime award, he literally credited, a lot of his appraisal to his parents. He said that, listen, my parents made me feel like I was just the best person, or they made him feel like he was the funniest person going, he was the most handsome person going. He said all of his confidence literally came because his parents gave him this delusion that he was great, but that delusion allowed him to become great. That's why they say delusion isn't always bad. Bear that in mind. Now, of course, I've had a lot to say regarding this situation with these two, but I'm just saying that there are still fundamentals that people also have to remember when it comes to Catie and Josh. And for me, I stick to what I say. Age can play a factor to us recognizing certain things, but then also on top of that, context is very key when it comes to these two clowns. But either way, though, let me know your thoughts. I'm sure you guys are gonna have obviously thoughts that are gonna be the complete opposite to me, which is completely fine, which is what I want to hear. I want to hear your different perspective. Why would I not want to? I want to learn and understand your perspective, and of course the things that you've been through that obviously I have not been aware of, so therefore that I can expand the way I'm thinking, if you know what I'm saying. I like learning from you lovely folks. That's why I do this. I read the comments all the time. Whether I respond or not, I like it because I learn. You know what I mean? Expand my thoughts. But with that, which is why I think over the years the content has gotten better and better and better, because I feel like each time I read comments that you guys give, and I'm like, okay, cool, I didn't think of that perspective. I'm like, It helps strengthen my brain. And then after that, when I review a new couple from a newer season, I'm like, actually, Do you see what I'm saying? You guys unintentionally make me, unintentionally without realizing, make me more intelligent. And I appreciate that. But now we're going to move on to the next one, the last one itself in particular. And this one is about Sam and Citra. Now, when it comes to the most recent episode of 90 Day Diaries, okay, I said that I don't believe that this story is necessarily true. I've got a feeling that maybe, just maybe, this relapse story may be fake and they did it just to get some money and just to be on the show. Because for me, the whole thing didn't fully plan out. But Citra and Sam, or should I say more like Citra, has come out with a post on her Facebook account. And this is what she's had to say. She said, I know a lot of you have messaged me asking, is it hard being married to someone in recovery? And how do you trust him after relapses? She said the truth is yes, it's hard. When I first found out Sam had relapsed, I was ready to leave. I had my bags mentally packed, my daughter in my mind, and a plan to go back to Indonesia. I did not want to forgive him. I was hurt, angry, and exhausted. Then it happened again. And that pain came right back. I can only imagine, to be honest with you. There were times I was ready to file for divorce because I couldn't keep carrying the fear, disappointment, and anxiety. Do you know what the crazy thing is, though? When she obviously signed up to marry this guy and have a child with this guy, I do wonder what actually made her finally make that choice to say, you know what, I actually want to marry and I actually want to start a family with you. Because these fears, these worries, these concerns would have been there prior. Do you see what I'm saying? Because from what I remember, this guy actually relapsed, didn't he, at the very beginning? When they first aired on the show, he did speak about how he relapsed when he was actually with Citra. I'm pretty sure that's what he said. So the fact that it already happened anyway, I don't know why she still proceeded to go forward. And this is why Citra's father made Sam promise that he would never ever relapse, because he wants to make sure that he's the right man for her daughter and make sure that her daughter is always feeling safe, especially given the fact that his daughter was now moving to a whole nother country. So I do wonder, even though I want to sympathize with what she's saying, I also at the same time, it's like the signs were there. This goes back to what I was saying before. I find it hard to sympathize with a lot of people these days, especially people in these 90-day folks, because it's like, but the sign was bloody there. You're the one that still chose to marry this dude and have a kid with him. You're the one that decided to put your kid in jeopardy by having a kid with him. Or maybe I'm being a bit too harsh. Give me your thoughts. Let's continue. She continues it by saying, when people see online is only small parts of our lives. There were many nights filled with tears, overthinking, and wondering if things would ever change. And you know what? This is a very good point that she's making it, because that's why I always say when people post things online, just understand that is not their complete life. And people 9 times out of 10 either wanted this. There are many different types of people that post online, okay, when it comes to social media, whether it be the IG, the TikToks, okay, those specifically, or maybe even YouTube Shorts. Those short little clips that we see, maybe even vlogs, to be fair, for that matter. The thing that you got to understand is that there are people who will either, one, specifically only post all the good times. I promise you now, they're good to watch sometimes, but they're not good to watch all the time, because they give you a delusion that life is perfect when it's not. But then there's people who post all the things, because all they want is people to have sympathy for them and people to feel sorry for them. Those are the 2 most common people that I do see posting online. So all I want to say is that please proceed with caution when you follow somebody who posts only good or somebody who posts only bad, because these 2 people are giving you a perspective of life that may start to make you see things a bit jagged, you know what I mean, a bit blurred, because one makes you believe life is perfect, one makes you believe life is miserable, when in reality you put them together, that's what life is. Life can be both good or bad, but sometimes people that we follow, people that we influence us, can make us forget that. So please proceed with caution when you're following somebody who does life type content, okay? But let's continue. She continues by saying, but recovery isn't always a straight line, which is true. Life isn't a straight line. Let's talk about it, huh? It's messy, complicated, and sometimes heartbreaking. The only reason we're still here is because both of us kept choosing to fight for our family, even when it felt impossible. Okay. When we spent time in Indonesia, I got to see the version of my husband I had been missing. We were happier, more present, and life felt peaceful again. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't constantly worried. And you know what? I love to hear that. Absolutely love to hear that. But therefore, she's getting a form of reassurance. But understand, folks, when you live a life where you need reassurance, reassurance is only ever temporary. You shouldn't really live a life where you need constant reassurance about certain things in life. Some things I understand. I mean, listen, when you're a parent, you definitely need reassurance that your child is safe for God knows how many years. Probably their whole life. I get it. But in a situation when you're in a relationship with somebody who you chose to be with, if you got to live life in reassurance of that person maybe not cheating or this person maybe not relapsing, proceed with caution, please, because that is very draining to your soul. Continues by saying, do I trust him 100%? Not yet. Yikes. Healing takes time, and I get it. Trust takes consistency. Exactly. Take consistency, but that's why you shouldn't be in a relationship that drains you, because you always need that consistent reassurance. Do you see what I'm saying? Unless you're parenting or whatnot. But let's continue. Anyone who has been through addiction in their family knows that forgiveness can happen much faster than trust. We're still working through it. One day at a time, our goal is to save enough money and eventually start fresh in Indonesia for a few years. Not because running away solves everything, but because sometimes a different environment can help you build a different future. Now, listen, I will agree with the concept of the idea that when you move to a different environment, it can definitely change things for you. But that can only work dependent on the person. Now, I can only use myself as an example because I know myself. I'm somebody that moved from one location to another location. And moving from one location to another location was the best thing that I ever did to myself after COVID. Okay, because then it wasn't even because I was in a new environment, or it wasn't because it was like it was more because I was in a place where I was like, you know what, I have no distractions here. I can now fully focus on things that I want to do. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm in a place where nobody knows me. This is different. I don't have to worry about certain things. But sometimes when people stay living in, this is why they say sometimes you shouldn't always live in the neighborhood you grew up in, because when everybody knows who you are, sometimes when you go to do certain things, you can worry too much about maybe being judged or whatever. There's certain things that just kind of make you feel like you can't really go that further forward, which is why sometimes a lot of people who become successful, or people who are on the journey of going to success, find that moving somewhere else can really help them, because it means that this is like a clean slate. So I do understand. But this is based on context, as I always say. Now, in the context of this situation, this is a man that has an issue with healing and an issue with relapsing. Even if you remove him from a certain location and you put him into another location, it doesn't mean the relapse is going to be fixed, because the matter of the fact is, what he has to do first, he has to make sure that he's ready to understand that he cannot be around people or around, do you know what? F that. F that. I'm scratching all of that. I'm going to tell you a law that I live by. A law that I live by, that everybody should live by. Never ever make a promise to someone else. Never ever trust someone else. Only ever make promises to yourself. Only ever trust yourself. Let me explain what I mean. Now, I could, for example, I could say to, if I had a person in my life, a woman in my life, I could be like, okay, I promise that I'm never going to cheat on you. Okay. You are my rider. I'm never going to step on you. Okay. I made that promise to her. But it's a better promise if I say to myself, I promise to myself that I'm never ever going to do her wrong. I'm never going to cheat on her. I'm never going to speak to her back. I'm never going to insult her. Because you see, if I break that promise, the only person that I'm hurting is me. And hurting me hurts more than hurting someone else. Why? Because I'm a man of my word. The question you have to ask yourself in life is, are you a person of your word? Are you true to your word? How does it make you feel when you break your word? Okay. So when you say you're going to do something, do it. And if you don't do it, how does it feel when you know you've let yourself down? So for me, if I ever set out and I say, I'm not going to do this, and the other, if I end up not doing that thing and ruining that thing, I'm going to blame myself and be like, yo, you've let yourself down. You broke your own word to yourself. If I choose to trust, if I walk into a situation, and I choose that I want to trust this person. I choose that I want to be given, and understand the trust that I'm giving to that person isn't me saying that I'm trusting you. I'm saying that I'm trusting me. I'm trusting myself to want to trust that person. Do you see what I'm saying? If that makes more sense in my head than it does out loud. But do you see what I'm saying though? So your word is your bond. Your word is your bond, right? So really and truly, all I want to say is, like, when it comes to the situation here, trust. You don't want to break your bond. But let's continue though. Now we're still walking through it. Oh no, wait a minute. Let's see. Anyone who has been through addiction in their family knows that forgiveness can happen much faster than trust. That is very true. We can forgive but not forget. Now it continues by saying that we're still working through it, one day at a time. Our goal is to save enough money and eventually start fresh in Indonesia for a few years. Not because running away solves everything, but because sometimes a different environment can help you build a different future. And again, I do agree, but it only works within context. It only works within that person. Is Sam the kind of person that's going to say, you know what? I want to move because I want to do better for myself, and doing better for myself is going to be doing better for my wife. Doing better for myself is going to be doing better for my child. Doing better for myself means that if I ever was to F up again, I'm disappointing me. Honestly, the worst thing you can do in this world is go against your own word to yourself. I'm telling you now, it hurts more. Because you see, when you hurt yourself, you got to live with that for a long, long time. When you hurt somebody else, all you got to do is remove that person, or that person removes you. You move on, you forget about that person, and therefore that wrong you did to that person is still there, but it's not that deep. But when it's to yourself, it's deeper. Just let that one sink in, please. And then also says, to women going through similar, let's reword that. Not to women, to anyone going through something similar. I see you. Loving someone through addiction is one of the hardest things I've ever done. Okay, again, reword that. It's not to women, it's to anyone, because anybody can be with anyone that has an addiction to something, regardless of the gender. Okay, so let's just make that stuff universal. Okay, not just to a specific gender. But hey, I've said a lot more than I thought I was going to say anyway. So give me your thoughts. But I will say this though, regarding the situation with me believing that the situation isn't true. Well, guess what, folks? I'm going to be uploading a YouTube Shorts where Sam is going to be giving his own response regarding to the accusations of people saying that they don't fully believe that the storyline is true and that it could just be a fabrication for just the episode. So please watch out for that one. I may already upload it before this video, but either way, though, check it out when it's there, okay, folks? But thank you so much for your time, and have a good day. And also make sure you hype the video, like the video, and subscribe, and comment so you can help me make my brain bigger. Thank you so much. Have a great day.